glad to be here. So
What did you fail at this week?
I just started this 1 year ago.
There's this new thing about TikTok now. People are saying views are down. Views are down. Lots of creators are panicking, right?
Yep. Like, you can be the best salesman if you're an introvert.
So we're gonna educate Mo on some pop culture. No offense to Tinder, but when you're Hi, I'm Isra. I'm the co-founder of Ace Creative alongside Mo here. We specialize in video marketing, content marketing, and we basically work with brands and entrepreneurs to help them grow their online presence. And we're really excited to talk about all things business, all things mindset. So welcome to our podcast. So today we're going to teach you some tips and tricks on how to ace your marketing game and just life in general. So let's get into it. So should we talk about how we met?
Yeah, it was through a networking event, 1 Billion Summit in Dubai, I think. They are the world's largest content creator summit. And
We didn't actually meet at the event, which is interesting. What happened was somebody created a group chat with like 200, 300 people. And I ended up messaging in that group chat. I was like, is there anyone here who is skilled at videography, editing? Please message me separately. I have a project, like let's collab. We ended up jumping on a call. I explained the project to you, and that was the first project we worked on. And now we're here.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how I think the wonders of networking can be all across, because I saw actually from one of the influencers that I was following from India, I saw him that he would be giving a workshop there. And then I went to their Instagram page and saw a lot of things. And then I'm like, okay, I think I should go for this, because there were like a lot of content creators and influencers that I follow and consume content from. And I'm seeing there and I'm like, I would like to meet them. And that's how I went.
So what was your number one takeaway from that event?
You remember that debate, quantity versus quality?
Yeah.
That's the
That
one
was a
thing
good
that I
one.
enjoyed the most out of it. I think it was Matthew who was giving from quality, and it was Project Nightfall who was giving it for quantity, right?
Right.
Yep. So I was on the side of quantity, and it meant a lot because that's the number one thing
You
that
were
I
on
learned.
quantity side?
Yeah, I was on the quantity
Really?
side.
I was on quality.
Right?
Yeah, 100%
Why?
quality.
Why?
Quality is so much more important than quantity, because I feel like you can anyone can post 100 pieces of content, but if that content is not communicating your product or your brand effectively, it's effectively useless. You know, it's an art being able to post content that captures people's attention, because like we have, I don't know, I think 3 billion people across in the world online right now. How many of them have successful online brands, right? If they're actually achieving that, what is it about their content that stands out? And I think it's the quality of their content that stands out. Do I think both of them are important? Yes. I don't think you can post one great video a year and think you can succeed. No. But I think that you should try to be consistent and also try to have a great quality of work that you output into the world, right? So, it's interesting that you say quantity. I want to dig more into that. You're a video editor, so I know that you work a lot with like a lot of videos at once. Like, how many videos have you edited in your lifetime?
I just started this 1 year ago, and up to today, in short form videos, I have done nearly 1,000 videos.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but I have a question to you.
Yeah.
How do you get quality without quantity?
I agree with you that if in order to get good quality, you have to practice a lot, which means you do have to have a high output of content at first. But then once you reach a point in your life or in your career where you kind of figure out what's working and what's not working, why do you have to post like 30 pieces of content and maybe only 10 are actually valuable and 20 is just like fluff, right? So I think practice makes perfect. So in the beginning, if you want to post a lot, cool. But then once you figure out your brand, I don't think you have to go over the top with posting. I think this is a misconception. People say you have to post every day. Some people think you need to be posting 3 times on TikTok. I don't agree. I really don't agree. I think you should be posting what brings value to your audience. People need to remember that people don't actually care about you as a person when they're scrolling through your page. They don't care about what you're up to really, but they're trying to see, how can I relate to this person? How does this person bring value to my life? What is about their content that resonates with me, that I feel like I can apply to my day-to-day? If you're not giving them something through entertainment, inspiration, or even education, they're going to keep scrolling and go to the next person. And I think it's really interesting. Like, there's this new thing about TikTok now. People are saying views are down. Lots of creators are panicking, right?
Yep.
There's this new phenomenon. And my take on that is views don't just magically go away, right? Views don't just disappear. They simply go somewhere else. Because there's some people on the platform that are still getting hundreds and thousands, they're still getting millions of views. So people who are watching this person yesterday are watching someone new today. Like a great example of this is like we can do a little case study on this new TikToker who's just emerged, Alix Earle. I don't know if you've heard of her. I don't think are you on TikTok a lot?
No.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna educate Mo on some pop culture. That's what's happening right now.
Sure.
Pop culture, TikTok culture, whatever. So Alix Earle is like this new influencer in the game now. She's got, I think, around 3 million followers or something now. And the reason for that is, like, if you look at her content, it's nothing, she's not doing anything crazy like Mr. Beast. Where did he go recently? He went to Antarctica or something in his latest video? I don't know. He did something like that. So he's always doing crazy things. Alix Earle just does simple get ready with me videos on her dressing room table. She's a college student. You know, she's a beautiful girl, but her content is very like average, right? To the average viewer, it's just kind of like, I'm getting ready, look at my outfit, I'm going out. What about that content makes people feel so connected to her? We need to think about that. What is it about Alix Earle that people love so much? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say authenticity. She's genuine, right? Yep. She was very open about her insecurities earlier. Like the reason she blew up, and she talks about this in one of her videos, is she was on treatment for her skin. This was a really big insecurity of hers. So she goes on to make videos talking about her struggles, her before and after, you know, her time during that medication process. Lots of people can relate to that. Lots of young girls look at that and say, wow, she's so beautiful, but she struggled with something I struggle with. That's so real, you know? And she's talking about that openly, something that is kind of stigmatized and people would feel embarrassed to talk about. But she does it with so much grace and she's cool about it. But she's genuinely a relatable content creator, which I think we need to try to be more of. And not in a forceful way, but we need to sit back, and when we're creating content, we need to think about how we can serve other people. You know, when we have a brand or when we're talking about a certain subject, how is this going to help somebody else? And if you think about it through that lens, you'll make it less about you and more about your audience. And then you'll start to see results, you know?
Absolutely, because there are 3 types of content actually that people can put it out.
Yeah.
Number 1, the content that I like. The number 2 is the content that your audience like.
Right.
And number 3 is both.
Yeah.
So I think from that perspective, you also need to resonate a lot with your audience. It is not about you finding the audience. It is about the audience finding you.
Yes. 100%.
Absolutely. And I think with, like you gave the example about the recent TikTok star, because I remember there was a time when we used to share memes, which were like only pictures.
Yeah.
Now it's all into videos. And I think in any way, video is the thing that's more impactful and to reach out to people. I mean, I would like to listen to how you think about that as well.
How I think video has become so important.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like when I think about what me and my friends share with each other now, I mean, it used to be memes back in the day, and it still is to an extent. We still send memes, but now the memes are on TikTok, right?
Absolutely.
So they're in the form of short form video or reels, Instagram reels. If you think about what you've been sharing with your friends and your family recently, it's all been short form video. It just shows like where we're evolving in terms of like how we're communicating with each other, how we're communicating our brands, how we're communicating stories. It's all video now. And video is where people are really paying attention right now in marketing. Like if you're not investing in marketing right now, you are going to be behind. And this is the reality. So you either have 2 choices right now, which is you jump on the wave right now and you get ahead of the game, or you're going to be in 2-3 years from now, you're going to be trying to, you know, chase the next best thing and the next new thing, but you're going to be behind, right? This is your time right now to get ahead because it's still relatively new. But we're seeing a boom, like we're seeing a boom in conversion rates. It's more likely that someone is going to buy a product or take action on your link or whatever just by seeing a video, just by seeing a video of your product, just by seeing a video of somebody rating your product. We need to get ahead of this right now. This is how I feel.
Yeah. And there was this stat that I saw, like out of a group of people who were shown videos, the stats say that 84% people have been convinced to buy that product or service, particularly after they saw a video.
Wow.
Yep. Let's say that there are like 2 products, product A and product B. You are like, both are same and you really don't know what you're supposed to buy.
Yeah.
But if you saw product B putting out a video, which one would you go for?
Product B, probably.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, the basic definition of video is what? It's just a combination of pictures, right? And you have audio and you have all these things, and then you make it as cool as possible. But if you mix the field of content and video, again, not just any plain random video of the product again works. Again, that needs to also resonate with your target audience.
Right.
That's where you can connect and make a lot of success out of it.
Right.
But another thing that also has made me curious is, since we have a lot of short form content going on right now, how long do you think short form content is going to be trendy?
Well, I mean, it's been trendy for a while now. You know, it's been trendy since Vine came out. Remember Vine?
Yes, I think
That was very short form content. I think you could only post like 6-second videos. I mean, I think more platforms are making spaces for it. Like at YouTube, then they now have YouTube Shorts. You know, Instagram incorporated Reels after seeing how well TikTok is doing. Twitter recently has even incorporated a video format, kind of like YouTube Shorts, because they see the effectiveness and the value of video. So I don't think short form video will ever go away, but I do think people will also eventually want to see more long form video. This is what I think is going to happen. Like, I think long form video is going to be something that is also going to be an imperative tool for anyone trying to build something. Because I think short form video is great to capture somebody's attention, but if you really want to build a loyal following, I think you have to have some long form content there, just so people have more of an insight into who you are, what you're about, what you do. And long form content has that kind of information versus short form. Short form is kind of like, it's packaged really nicely and you put it in a bow and it's kind of like, hey, here's what you can get in 60 seconds. You know, it's good to keep people's attention span, you know, intact, but I think it's going to be just as important 10 years from now as it is today.
Since you said about the attention span, a lot of facts are stating that the attention span of people are getting shorter and shorter.
Right.
How true do you think that is?
I think it's very true. I think we see that every day in our day-to-day lives. I think our patience is wearing thin as a society because we're just so used to the next dopamine hit, right? So it's kind of like next video, next video, next video. And anything we want is literally at the tip of our fingers. So, I mean, I definitely agree that short form content is not going away anytime soon, simply because we're not training or disciplining our minds to have more of an attention span, I should say. So that's why, if we're talking from a marketing perspective or a creative perspective, take advantage of that. Take advantage of the fact and bank on short form content. Use it to capture the attention of your audience, because it's definitely not going anywhere.
How would I put it this way? Because this is something that I learned very recently. It's not that the attention span is getting shorter from the people. It still remains the same. But the judging ability of the people is getting much faster.
Judging ability.
Yeah.
What do you
So
mean?
I think over time, the judging ability of the people has got so much faster because of a lot of data. Like, we know what's going to happen because of content again.
You mean like the predictability aspect?
Yeah, exactly. That's, I
Right.
think, the right word for that. You are able to predict what is going to come.
So you've worked with some interesting brands. We won't mention them. And you've worked with some big names. So you have seen success, right?
Yep.
In those videos. What do you think were the kind of magical factors that you incorporated in those projects that made them successful?
So here's the thing that a lot of people misunderstand. They think the first 3 seconds of the reel or TikTok or short form video has to hook the audience onto it.
Okay.
Yes, it does. I'm not saying no. But let us say you make the first 3 seconds so good and you get the person's attention hooked onto your video, and the next 27 seconds or the next 57 seconds are absolute shit.
Yeah, okay,
Right?
yeah. They're not going to pay, they're not going to
Yeah,
stay.
so I would say, like, you need to hook the attention, but at the same time, you need to keep up that
Yeah,
through the
yeah.
quality of the content. Here's where your argument on quality comes into play.
Exactly. I mean, I like this thing. Someone the other day said, you know, effective marketing or video production, they think it's just storytelling. And I think storytelling is such an important part, but storytelling without effectively communicating your product or your message is useless. Like somebody who sits there and films with an iPhone and just a ring light and just can talk and show why their product is great may have more conversions than somebody who films something in a studio with all these lights and, you know, aesthetics. And I just think that what is the difference between the two, and how do we get the desired result? And the common factor is always one person is always better at communicating the product more than the other, right? So what is something that helps you communicate a product effectively is you got to know your audience and you got to speak their language. And now I want to talk about somebody who did this really well. So the founder of Bumble, her name is Whitney Wolfe Herd. Her company is now worth $3.3 billion. I just checked as of today, $3 billion. She talked about her journey before Bumble. She actually used to work for Tinder. Interesting.
Okay.
So this girl used to work for Tinder, and she was the marketing director, or she was in charge of marketing for that app. What they did in the early days of Tinder is phenomenal. She used her existing network. She had just graduated from college. She went back to her university, and she had some friends in her like sorority and some guy friends in a fraternity. So she went to one of the fraternities, took a picture of the guy that was like really popular at the time, and then she went to the sorority and took a picture of one of her girlfriends who was really popular at the time. Then she goes and she photoshops those faces onto like the Tinder kind of like app. So it kind of shows like both of their profiles. And she takes she prints like 1,000 copies of that. She starts handing out those flyers. And in the flyers, it says, guess who likes who, or something along those lines. She starts handing out those flyers on campus and pays people 20 cents each to distribute those flyers across campus. Really interesting, right? And so she was doing these little marketing tactics here and there, and it was just so effective. Like people were kind of like, what's going on? Like why is Tinder everywhere? Like what's going on? When she then founded Bumble later on, she talks about how she had women who would wear like the Bumble t-shirt, and she would purposely make them go into the class late. So 10 minutes late. So when you enter a class late, everyone's going to look at you, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So it catches people's attention.
Absolutely,
so she would send people wearing her branded shirt saying Bumble. They would walk into class saying, oh, like, I'm sorry, like, think I'm in the wrong class. Everyone would obviously look at the person and see the brand, right? So then it would be like little things like this she would start to do. So people would start thinking like, why am I seeing this brand everywhere? They would have like, those signs where you say, no phones allowed, turn off your cell phone when you're in class, or something like rules. You're not allowed to be on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. She would have like a poster that would say, no Facebook, no texting, no Bumble. And at the time, Bumble was new, so people were like, what's Bumble? So that would get people's attention and be like, what, why? So just through little things like that, it just taught me. And she talks about how when you have a brand or a product, you really have to think from your consumer's perspective. And when she created Bumble, she knew it was going to be for women, right? And she wanted it to be like a safe space for women, a place where women felt like she wanted it to be cozy, and she wanted it to feel comfortable. She baked yellow cookies because Bumble's brand is yellow. So she baked yellow cookies, and she would kind of like give them out on campus as well. So just these little like nugget like techniques, small techniques here and there she would use to get the name out there, I thought was so interesting. And it taught me the importance of following your gut in marketing. Because you could do like textbook 1, 2, 3, 4 and, watch what other people are doing. But is it aligned to what your consumers want and what they believe in? And is it aligned to what would make them feel a certain way or make them feel good? And I think she did that really well. She used her intuition really well. And I think when it comes to marketing and branding and creating something, you really have to use your intuition a lot and experiment, which is what she did. And now look at her. Her app is worth like 3.3 billion.
I think I love that point where he said you need to follow your gut, because here's one of the stories that absolutely amazed me in the field of design, in the world of design. So there's this brand called Neil Kamal in India. And I got to know about the story from one of my friends who is a graphic designer. And he explains the entire story. And it's just like Neil Kamal, basically, they manufacture all the plastic furnitures.
Yeah.
So if you see something like a chair that's plastic or a table that's plastic, they basically manufacture that. So maybe a few years ago, their market was going down. Their revenue, their sales were going down because people started perceiving plastic furnitures as something that is cheap and not endurable.
Wow.
So they wanted to completely change and uplift their image. And here's what they did. In their marketing design team, one of the designers made a poster in which there's a plastic chair, and on top of that plastic chair stands an elephant. right? And there's a circus going on all on top of a plastic chair. The entire marketing team, when they saw that particular poster, they were kind of like sketchy, or they were like skeptical whether it's going to work out or not. And the guy who designed it, he was completely trusting his guts, and they put it out. And ever since they put it out, they had all their sales going up, and their brand image completely shifted around. Why? I mean, what can we learn from that? Like, what does an elephant on a chair mean? Elephant is heavy.
Yeah.
And it is standing on a plastic chair.
Right.
What does that mean? The plastic chair can bear an elephant standing.
Right. Like it's strong, it's durable.
Yeah, it's durable. So then that's where they were able to completely shift their particular brand image onto the public.
Yeah.
And that completely involves guts.
Yeah.
So definitely, I do agree with that point, and it makes a lot of sense when you say you need to follow your gut. But I think Bumble is one of the most successful stories in terms of marketing as well. And the fact that, the lady is the one who has to text the guy first.
Yes. That's another thing. The feature of Bumble itself, it's very empowering for the women, right? So it's created for women, and it makes women feel, empowered because they have to make the first move. And I think that's why it's so successful because, I feel like, no offense to Tinder, but when you're on Tinder, it's just kind of like you don't have control over kind of what happens and who messages you. And there's a little bit of space for, dare I say it, like a little bit of harassment. And she talks about this as well on Diary of a CEO, where she talks about how she wanted women to have control again. And so in order to avoid that harassment per se, it's always women who make the first move, because then men don't really feel rejected because women are making the first move. And so it's a more of an open, honest, relaxed environment, versus if guys are messaging you first all the time and maybe you're not responding, or they don't like the way you're responding, that can often be met with kind of a negative reaction. So she completely did a great job on her product. She completely made it a safe space for women, essentially. And that was her goal. And she's continuing to do that every day. And you can just tell that she really cares about what she built, and I think that's why it's so successful. I really admire her, and I really admire her business model, her work ethic. I think she's someone that if anyone wants to build a business, and if anyone wants to build a business they're passionate about, they should look into Whitney Wolf Herd. Because what she's created is phenomenal. The amount of thought she put into it, the amount of care and empathy, it paid off.
Absolutely.
It paid off, right? What you do offline matters just as much as what you do online. Are you taking care of your consumers? Are you listening? Are you doing questionnaires, getting feedback? Are you doing pop-ups? Are you doing giveaways? Are you doing little what she did, which was, sending people into classrooms, wearing your branded shirt late because it captures attention? What are you doing offline? Use your existing network to get ahead. I think that's important.
I think, those are like the low-hanging fruits on a tree, instead of that's the thing that first you need to approach before directly aiming for high.
100%.
I think most of the time when we start a new venture or when we get into a new endeavor, what we usually think is that it should pay us off in the next 2 to 3 months, or maybe maximum 3 to 6 months, or more than at least a year. Personally, I love sales.
Yeah.
I love selling. And a lot of people have come to me, and I tell them, man, start sales. That's the most valuable skill that you can study. These guys come to me and they're like, no, man, sales is not for me. I'm an introvert. You can be the best salesman if you're an introvert.
How come? Explain that.
So the number one rule in selling is the person who talks the least wins the sale.
Ah, okay.
And what does mean? If I am talking the least, that means I'm listening to you. If I'm selling something to you, I'm listening to you. Right. And introverts are good listeners. And
Right.
most of the introverts are very intuitive.
Right.
Yeah, they go about their judgments through the intuitions that they get from the input they're getting from the person sitting in front of them. They make good decisions.
And I think what holds a lot of people back is the fear of failure.
Fear of failure, exactly. That's what I'm
know?
saying. So most of the people say about selling, they're just afraid that they are going to get rejected, and they're like, no, sales is not for me. Sales is for everyone.
Right.
And I think that fear of failure, or the imposter syndrome, a lot of people are having that, I'm going to suck at this.
Yeah.
Well, yes, you are going to.
I think we should normalize failure.
We have to normalize failure. I mean, the thing is, people see failure as something bad. Well, here's the thought that helped me go into what I'm doing and help me get good at things that I'm good at today. It's if today is, how was the weather today? Was it sunny?
It was sunny today.
Well, if it was rainy, would you care?
A little.
Yeah, but you would still do your stuff, right?
Yeah, I would do my thing.
You would have still come here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like the rain, but
Yeah, even I don't like rain. You don't like
I don't
rain,
like
but
the rain.
even if it's raining, you still would do your
Yeah,
work.
my life goes on.
Exactly. That's
Right?
how you need to see about failures and success.
100%.
Like, you don't like rain, but that doesn't mean rain is bad.
Right.
You love sunny weather. That doesn't mean sunny weather is good.
Right.
It's just the normal things that you see outside from your life. And I think that's the same thing as success and failure.
It's about perspective.
Exactly. It's something that's outside you. And if you win, cool, go ahead. If you fail, still go ahead.
Right.
That's where I
Right.
think it says.
Yeah, this reminds me of an interview that the founder of Spanx, she's also worth $1 billion now, I think, her business. And she would talk about a conversation she would have with her father. And she would be at the dinner table with her father, and her father would say, "What did you fail at this week?" And if she didn't say anything, if she didn't have anything she could mention that she failed at that week, he would look really disappointed. Because you not failing at something means you're not trying. Are you just scared to take that next step because you feel unprepared? And the secret is, by the way, everybody feels unprepared. Everyone had to start somewhere. You have two destinations you can go from failure, which is either I learn and I'm going to grow from this, or I'm going to redirect my path to something better. I definitely sympathize with imposter syndrome. I still have it today. But the way I fight with it is you kind of have to think logically. And it's like, okay, if I'm not prepared to be in this space now, when will I feel ready? Like, if not now, when, right? Am I going to wait till I'm 30, till I'm 40? When am I really going to be prepared? Will the excuses ever end? Like, you have to ask yourself this. So it's really about doing the inner work and really sitting down with yourself and saying, actually, I'm just going to go ahead. Because what's the worst that can happen?
100%. Because this is the exact same thing that has driven me to work ahead. When you start learning a new skill, you would suck at it. And you need to be okay with sucking. Just like you said, we need to be normalizing failures. You do more, you become okay.
Yeah.
You do more, you become good.
Yeah.
And that's how, like you said, the people who are ahead of you, that's because they have done that much times of repetitions. Like, when I started editing videos, my goal was to edit at least 500 videos without looking at the results.
Right.
And okay, in between, I started getting results in terms of money, in terms of the impact it had on the businesses. And I'm like, okay, I need to keep doing this more often. And that's where consistency has helped me drive forward. And finally, like talking about the failures and things, like you said, if you have your mindset like this, that you are going to try out something that's really risky, you can either win at it or you can flop or flunk at it.
Right.
If you win at it, you get the goodies.
Yeah.
If you flunk at it, you get the lesson.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a gain for you.
Right. 100%. I agree with you.
Right. And here's one thing that was really interesting. I was on my way morning from Abu Dhabi here, and I was listening to this podcast, and this is one of the favorite things that I came across. And I was like, I need to start applying this. If you are to take a risky decision, or if you're taking any sort of action that involves risk in your life,
Yeah.
you usually ask yourself, what am I going to lose from this? If things go wrong, what's the worst thing that can happen to me? Well, that's indeed a thought you need to give to yourself. But you also need to ask this question. What would happen if I don't do this? Or what would happen if I don't invest $50,000?
Right.
What would happen? You wouldn't make that return.
I mean, you have to make the decision. Is the fear of regret bigger than your fear of failure?
Exactly. Yes. That's where where you are comparing regret and failure. Which one is more? That's where it helps you drive the question. So you can ask yourself, what am I going to lose? But you can also ask something. What would happen if I don't do this?
I mean, personally, I'm personally terrified of regret. I don't want to regret anything in my life. I would rather fail 100 times than be in my old age thinking, what if? Why didn't I do that? I could have done that. I had so much potential. That is more scary to me, and I think everyone should go out and do what they want to do. I think everyone should try something and fail or succeed, because we keep asking, what if I fail? What if you succeed? Right?
Yeah.
What if it works out?
I think even when it comes down to the online business, I think a lot of people just wait for the right time to start. But I think the right time is right now, because I would love to tell this lastly, like, if you want to study any skill, again, this comes from Hormozi, like, if you want to study any skill, you just need to spend 20 hours of intense work in it, and you can do that skill decently.
Yeah.
Whether it is writing, drawing, selling, anything. But most of the people take years to start that first hour. That's where the problem lies. So I think, yeah, I mean, it's just all about starting. Like we started the first series of podcasts today.
Yeah. Welcome to Acing It, by the way.
Yeah. Glad to be here. So
Well, you want to
All right.
wrap this up in a nice way? Or?
sure. So the biggest message that I think everyone should learn, and I think I should have learned, like this one lesson, I was like, I wish I knew this when I was 13. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it more and more. For a long period of time, you would be unreasonably good, that your competition cannot go ahead of you, and it would be virtually impossible to fail for you. Keep doing it as much as times as you can. That's the message that I want to leave on to everyone.
If you want to do something, start today. Just start. Do it and learn as you go instead of trying to be perfect from the beginning, because you're not going to be perfect, and that's okay. So whatever it is, go for it, and you got this. That's my word of advice for today.
Done.
Mic drop.